Hello, folks. Beatrice and Mike for now. We're doing lesson 58 today.
All right.
So,
Great.
so once you're there, let me know.
I'm in.
Okay, Mike.
I'll find it. Won't
Okay,
take long.
I'll wait.
Won't take long.
And how did he find us, Beatrice?
Through my daughter, Rachel, and
Oh, okay. Oh,
and
yeah,
her
you were.
boyfriend Omar
Oh, wait, you were there Sunday.
on Sunday. That's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really enjoyed it. And I'm a little bit outspoken. And then I thought afterwards, I was like, oh my gosh, I really spoke up like I'd been there forever. So
All right. It's all right. Okay, let's begin. Okay, this is lesson 58, and this is a review lesson of lessons 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Okay?
Okay.
I'll go ahead and read the first one. Paragraph 1, lesson 36. My holiness envelops everything I see. From my holiness does the perception of the real world come. Having forgiven, I no longer see myself as guilty. I can accept the innocence that is the truth about me. Seeing through understanding eyes, the holiness of the world is all I see. For I can picture only the thoughts I hold about myself. Okay, let's begin. Now, for my holiness, there's a perception of. Okay, imagine you have two lenses. Okay, you have love's lens, which is God's, and then you have the ego's lens, which is this world's. Holiness is a symbol of using God's lens, love's lens. Okay, and so from my holiness, from my alignment with the mind of God, does the perception of the real world come. And so you can always see the world in two ways. You can see the real world through love's lens, or you could see a made-up world through the ego's lens. And so from my holiness does the perception of the real world come. Having forgiven, okay, so forgiveness is kind of like a doorway from the ego's world to God's world. And so having forgiven, I no longer see myself as guilty. In essence, having aligned my mind with the mind of God, I no longer see myself as guilty because we're all one. And so the only way that you cannot see yourself as guilty is by making the conscious decision to see everybody as innocent. So unless you see everybody as innocent, you're always going to feel unconsciously guilty. Okay? So the only way to true innocence, to feeling true innocence, remembering that we're all one, is to look at everybody through that mercy and grace of God, through love's lens. I can accept the innocence that is the truth in me, okay? So once I align with the mind of God, I see my innocence. Seen through understanding eyes or seen through God's eyes, the holiness of the world is all I see. And so when you see through God, when you make the conscious decision to see through love's lens, holiness is all you see. For I can picture only the thoughts I hold about myself, the loving thoughts I hold about myself. And so that's paragraph 1. Any comments or questions?
no, taking it in.
Okay, so you want to, my holiness envelops everything I see. Okay, if my mind is aligned with the mind of God, with holiness, then that's going to touch everything I see. So if you're judging, if you're condemning, if you're criticizing, if you're resentful or feeling guilty, shame, hateful, then you're not aligned with your holiness. And therefore, you're not going to see holiness in the world. Any comments or questions, Mike?
Yeah. When we project and we get angry and we get judgmental about the world, it's not easy to be aware of this, but we can't avoid doing the same about ourselves. You know, when we get judgmental about everything we see in the world, and then we're judgmental of ourselves. And the reason we're judgmental about the world is because we're being judgmental about ourselves, and we don't want to look at it. We want to see it outside. Uh, when you can look at somebody and realize that, they just made a mistake because they're caught up in fear, then we can look at ourselves, at our mistakes, and say, yeah, I made a mistake. That's because, because I was caught up in fear. So I can forgive myself. What you give is what you have. You know, if what you give is a lot of condemnation and judgment, then that's what we get to have in our lives.
Yeah. So the point of the course is to try and see the world through love's eyes, through holiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so a little exercise you can do for yourself is, before every interaction, say to yourself, okay, I'm here to see the world as God sees it. That's what God created me for. And so I'm going to practice seeing holiness in everyone and that God sends my way. And so no matter what they think, say, or do, I'm only going to see the holiness. And if I need help, I'll use forgiveness to let go of the delusions that I'm holding as more real than God's creations. All right, paragraph 2. Would somebody like to read paragraph 2?
Sure, I'll go ahead.
Okay.
The perception of my holiness does not bless me alone. Everyone and everything I see in its lights shares the joy it brings to me. There is nothing that is apart from this joy, because there is nothing that does not share my holiness. As I recognize my holiness, so does the holiness of the world shine forth for everyone to see.
Okay, so my holiness blesses the world. Okay. I was created by love to be and share the energy of love. In doing so, I share and I bless everyone and everything that I come across, because I'm seeing them as they truly are. And when I see them as they truly are, I help remind them who they truly are. Okay. And so today or tomorrow, practice using this on everyone and everything you see and also think of. And don't allow the ego to take control of any part of your day and mind. And so if you're aligned with mercy, with grace, with forgiveness, then you'll see everyone and everything through that lens. And by doing so, you'll fulfill your mission as the holy being that God created you to be. And when you do so, you remind all others that they too are worthy of forgiveness and mercy and grace and joy. And so the being all one, and so this is number 1, the perception of my holiness does not bless me alone. Okay. And so if you want to feel blessed throughout the day, make the conscious decision not to leave anybody unforgiven. And when the ego says, you know what? No, don't forgive them. Just don't dive deeper into that darkness, because we've all traveled judgment's road before, right? And it never leads us to peace of mind or joy. And so just when the ego starts to whisper and say, hey, judge that brother or sister, just remind yourself, okay, I've done that 100 times before, and it never delivers to me the peace of mind and joy that I want. Okay? So wouldn't it be madness to keep on traveling down those dead-end roads thinking that somehow they're going to deliver to you peace of mind and joy if they never have before. And so don't get stuck in the madness. Instead, use the madness, the judgments of self or others, to trigger in you the desire to do this part of the lesson, to make sure that you're a blessing to everyone and everything today. Any
And
comments, questions?
yes. And I get stuck on this. What is forgiveness? Is it a lack of judgment? Is it,
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead, Mike.
go ahead.
go ahead.
Forgiveness. The Course redefines a lot of common terms. Okay, starting with the miracle. When I first came across the Course, somebody said, "Hey, there's this group. We're going to discuss a new book." I said, "Well, what is it?" They said, "A Course in Miracles." And I said, "A Course in what?" That's weird. But, okay, all right, let's go. We'll see it. Let's take a look at it. So the thing about it is, what we think of as miracle is something miraculous that happens in the world that changes us. The Course has a different definition. It's something miraculous that happens inside of us that changes our world. Same thing as forgiveness. What we normally think of as forgiveness is you did something bad, but I'm going to forgive you. See how spiritual I am? See how bad you are and how spiritual I am that I'm forgiving you? The Course calls that forgiveness to destroy. Because what you're doing is you're condemning somebody else to being less than you. The Course, what the Course calls forgiveness, it says forgiveness is always for yourself. It's not about what the other person did. What the other person did may be bad, a bad thing. It's about, I'm not going to condemn that other person. I recognize that other person is got to have been not in their right mind to do something like this. Okay, and all I have to do is, I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'll do whatever is helpful in this case. And it doesn't mean condoning behavior. It doesn't mean, oh, what you did is okay. No. It means I'm not going to hold anger and hate towards that person. I'm just going to do whatever is helpful.
Okay.
And whatever is helpful may not look very forgiving. I always use an extreme example. If you see somebody with an assault rifle headed for a grammar school, the most loving thing you can do for that person is to try to stop him, call the police. So forgiveness simply means I'm not going to condemn. Okay, I'm not going to condemn other people. I understand that they're in pain, and I'll do whatever's needed, including stopping them from doing something. Forgiveness simply means I'm not going to condemn somebody. I understand that they're crazy at this time, and I'll do whatever is necessary, even if they have to go to jail. Well, that may be the best thing for them. I don't know. But I'm not hating that person. I understand that it's a confused person. And whatever needs to be done to help the world is whatever needs to be done. If he needs to go to jail, well, I'm sorry about that. I'm not glad that you have to go to jail, but hey, that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, and the Course calls forgiveness the last illusion, because it releases you from the world of duality. And so,
Yeah.
imagine God being love and all, right? And so, the truth in you can only be what God is, right? And so, the truth in you is love, and that's only that's the whole truth in you. Okay. Now, being all one, if the truth in you is love, then everybody else truth must be that love. Okay? So no matter what they think about themselves, no matter how they've been programmed to be, their truth is love. Okay? So the way that forgiveness is used in the Course is it sees only the truth in others as true. Okay? It sees only the love in them as true. And it overlooks everything else. Okay? Because everything else is not real. Okay? Because if only love is real, then everything else must be unreal. So sometimes you think about love, and then sometimes you think the opposite is fear, right? But if love is all, correct, then fear must be nothing, right? So anything that we've learned apart from love was never real or true. And so the Course uses forgiveness to let go of the delusional mindset of our past programming, so we can start to see only the truth in others as true. And in doing so, become the blessing of the world that God created us to be. Another thing that Course says is that God does not forgive because he has never condemned.
Right.
And so that's what we want to practice doing. Okay? The idea is to practice doing what God does, or seeing the world as God sees it, right? So what we want to do is look upon each and every person we think of or meet first with mercy and grace.
I love that.
And if somehow the ego takes control of our minds for a moment, then we use forgiveness to release us from the ego's past programming, from the ego saying, well, this person must be judged, or this person must be condemned. But what happens? The ego wants you to do that because if you do that, if you align with the mindset of judgment and condemnation, then the ego can convince you that you cannot be one with an all-loving source. Okay, so if you're not one with an all-loving source, then you must be part of the ego. And so that's what the ego wants. It wants you to judge and condemn and feel okay for doing so. And so the way we let go of the ego's mindset and programming is just through forgiveness. We don't buy into the story. No matter what the story is, we don't buy into it. No matter what the fairy tale is, we don't buy into it, because we simply recognize it as a fairy tale. And so that's the idea of forgiveness. It's the idea of overlooking what is not true, even though we've been taught by the ego that it is true. It says the ego says it's true and righteous to judge your brother or sister. And yes, in the ego's world, you can do that. And it can convince you to do so. But what it's doing unconsciously is trying to separate you from source. And you will never feel at peace or joyful or fulfilled if you're unconsciously separated from source. Okay. And so that's the way to let go of the ego's little judgment-centric, fear-based games through the act of forgiveness.
Thank you.
Yes. And hello, Wendy.
Hi, James. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
It's all right.
Hey, Wendy.
We're
Hi,
doing
Wendy.
lesson 58 and paragraph 3 now.
Lesson 58? Okay.
And paragraph 3, yes. It's a review lesson. All right. Number 3. Would somebody like to read number 3? Mike?
Sure, I'll go ahead. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is unlimited in its power to heal, because it is unlimited in its power to save. What is there to be saved from except illusions? And what are all illusions except false ideas about myself? My holiness undoes them all by asserting the truth about me. In the presence of my holiness, which I share with God himself, all idols vanish.
Okay. Sentence number 1. My holiness is unlimited in its power to heal. Or, my holiness is unlimited in its power to help people find peace, because it's unlimited in its power to save. Or it's unlimited in its power to remind us who we truly are. What is there to save from except illusions? Okay. And so when you're judging your brothers or sisters, the ego says that your judgments are real. But if they cannot do anything but love you, then what is it to save you from? Okay. And that's number 4. What are illusions that set false ideas about myself? Okay, there's truth, which is the love of God, and its opposition is illusions. Okay. And so love is real and fear is not. Love and its expressions, such as compassion, kindness, peace, joy, are real. And fear, being judgment, anger, resentment, hatred, those are not real. And so if something is unreal, right, why do you have to defend yourself against it? Why do you have to defend yourself against some illusion? Well, you have to realize that it's not real. It's not true. It's kind of like when you're having a nightmare, right? If you believe in the nightmare, you run away from the monster, right? But the only way to let go of that nightmare is to remember that you can wake up. And once you wake up, the nightmare no longer affects you. And so that's the idea, is to see everything that occurs to us in reality is here to help us grow, heal, and awaken.
Pedro would like to hear you say wake up.
Oh yeah.
He can hear it wherever he is. He heard you just say wake up. My hand is up because I was going to volunteer to read. I don't have a question.
Okay, let's think about this a little bit more here.
Okay. Put my hand down.
Okay. So let us remember, our truth is that love, right? So your brother or sister, in truth, they can only love you. Okay? So if in truth, your brother or sister can only love you, and only what is expressed through love is real, then there's no need for you to put up defenses against that. Because why would you put defenses against love, right? But if you buy into the ego's programming and think that your brother and sister can do something other than love you, such as judge you or condemn you or hate you, then if you buy into the nightmare, then you're going to need those defenses. But you use those defenses only because you believe the nightmare is real. Okay? Once you wake up, Pedro, from the nightmare, then you see that there's nothing to defend yourself against. One of the things the Course says is, one of the lessons is, in my defenselessness, my safety lies.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're recognizing that there's nothing to defend yourself against. Once your mind is aligned with the mind of God, what is there to defend against? Nothing. And so when you're saying, in my defenselessness, in my decision to say, I don't have to defend myself against anything because the only thing that's real is love. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. I'm remembering who I truly am by being defenseless. And so let's say a brother or sister says something mean about you. Okay, the ego would see that as, oh, that's mean. That's not nice. You know, therefore I must defend myself against what he or she just said. And so I get sucked into the nightmare, like quicksand. I get sucked into the delusion. Now there's another way of seeing that. My brother says, quote unquote, something mean or whatever. You remind yourself, wait a second. They can only in truth love me because only the love in them is true. So that gibberish they just said, that's not real or true. And so why would I defend myself against some fantasy? There's no need to defend myself against fantasy. My only decision is to see the truth in them as true and remind myself that they can only love me. They can't do anything else other than love me because they are love. Any comments or questions?
I always add something that the body is not who I am. When it says in my defenselessness, my safety lies, that means my concept of ourselves. The body is always in danger. If you're crossing the street and there's a bus coming, jump out of the way real quick. We're not talking about the body here. We're talking about our image or a story about ourselves. If somebody sends me a nasty email, I don't have to defend. I just do whatever is needed.
Mike, I'm glad you said that, because when James was saying, and I've remembered that I'm safe in my defenselessness. When he said that, my mind immediately says, unless someone's punching me. Like that's how I end that sentence in my head.
Yeah, if somebody's coming at you with a knife, run.
No, but that now that you said that, now I feel better, like that that I understand it the right way.
Yeah.
I think I did
It's talking
understand.
about
Yeah.
It's talking about our concept of ourselves. Our concept of ourselves does not need to be defended. If somebody calls you an idiot, you don't have to worry about that. Okay.
Because it's not true.
I always joked about, imagine somebody talking to Albert Einstein and calls Albert Einstein stupid. Can you picture Einstein saying, "Who are you calling stupid? I'm not stupid. You're stupid." Can you picture Einstein saying that? You calling me stupid? Okay, whatever.
Any other comments or questions?
Let me see. Yes, I am on mute.
So,
I was about to say that when you suggest, James, that we should think my brother can only love me. I mean, I see like there is a level 1, a level 2, a level 1.5, and a level 1. Because in the middle, it's like I'm almost there, like in level 1, in the oneness, but I'm not in level 2. But I'm thinking, it's like rising above to think and still see the human is that interaction, of the attack and then defense. So I gotta say something. We have to say something. Someone tells you you're a cheater. I found something of you and I see you were cheating on me, and you say, no, I was. So you say, no, you were cheating on me. So it's like you have to say something, because not saying that nothing is like you condoning. It's like, okay, it's true, whatever you're saying is the truth. Because in that moment, you cannot say, hey, I am level 1 now, I'm seeing that your spirituality and it's so,
listen, forgiveness does not mean being a doormat. Forgiveness means I don't need to defend myself. One way of, perceiving forgiveness, I don't need to defend myself, and I'll just do whatever is helpful. Sometimes what's helpful may not appear to the world as something very loving. You do whatever is helpful. If you have a friend who you know is an alcoholic, and he comes to you, oh man, I'm really in a tough shape. I'm out of money. I need some money to go buy a bottle of booze. Would it be loving to say, oh, I'm sorry, here's the money? Or would it be more loving to say, no, I'm not going to give you money for that? Which one would be more forgiving, more loving? To say yes or to say no?
Well, usually they're gonna come to you with a story different, like it has happened to me, that they come to say, hey, I'm so behind in these credit cards, I'm so behind in paying this, I don't know, mortgage, and can you help me with something? Underneath it's of course because they are drinking and Hanover and drinking and not working the way they're supposed to be a little bit irresponsible. Being irresponsible, it's not a little bit. being responsible. So in that sense, it's like, okay, let me give you, I don't know, ideas of best how to get more clients, how to market your stuff better, how to, because it can be, as you said, how can we be loving right there? Sometimes it's not just giving them the money that they are asking, but giving them some type of support that they can themselves maybe empower them, the skills that they have to see it and then put it in practice. And yeah, it's been my error. Sometimes I did lend, and but then I see that no improvement. That I see no, I'm getting worse. I'm getting worse. I go like, oh well, it's not lack of money. It is not because of lack of resources. There's still that because there's something in there that it has so much limitations, so much into the lack, and then it's like asking for help, but it's still like not doing anything to swim to the shore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Our job is to try to bring level 1 into level 2. Okay, level 1, for those who don't remember, is oneness, right? It's kind of like in alignment with the mind of God, right? And level 2 is the duality of this world, of the ego's world, where there's right and wrong and black and white and that kind of thing. And so our job is to try to bring oneness into duality, light into darkness, love into fear. And so an easy way to do that is, well, I don't know if it's easy, but there's okay, either you make a conscious decision to remind yourself that only the love in your brothers and sisters is true, and everything else, no matter what the ego says, it's just a fantasy and a fairy tale. Okay? So just practice, make it simple. Either I'm seeing my brother's loving nature as real and true, or I'm seeing a fantasy that my ego has created. And so our job is to practice trying to see the love in them as true and nothing else that's true. And one of the quotes that Mike always says about the course is, your job is the miracle. The miracle's extension is God's responsibility. So I know there's a part in the course that says, if your brother asks for something, go ahead and give it to them. That's your job. What happens after that? That's God's job. Okay? And so I'm not saying, give drugs to somebody who's doing drugs, that wouldn't be the most loving thing to do. But that's what if they ask for something, whatever, you offer them to, if it aligns with your peace, you offer it to them. But very simply, either practice seeing only the love in your brother and sister as true, because that reinforces who you truly are. Okay, if you reinforce the fantasy in them, then you're only going to pollute and poison yourself. Okay, so no matter what the ego says to do, no matter how it wants you to play in duality, whatever it says is a lie. Okay, so no matter what it says, just stop it. Just don't put your time, focus, and energy into it. Place it aside and align yourself with the mind of God, with love, and see only that. See through love's lens each and every time. And then after that, we become grateful to a brother or sister. Why? Because they helped us shift from duality to oneness, from judgment to forgiveness, from pain to peace. And so the more we do this, the more we leave the duality of the ego's mindset and world behind, the more we practice doing this shift, the more this becomes more natural and normal for us to see the world through. And so what's the proper response to your brother or sister who helped you practice doing this? Yes, thank you. Thank you for helping me practice shifting from the delusional mindset of the ego to God's mind, to being at one with the mind of God. And that's why gratitude, if gratitude is not your final response to your brother's or sister's action, then somewhere you're not seeing the gift that is being presented to you in the present moment. And something that helps you with that is simply to trust God and say, God, I really don't know what good can come of this, but I'm going to put it in your hands. And the more you practice trusting God, what happens? The more peace you have, right? The more peace you have, what happens? The brighter your light shines. And the brighter your light shines, what happens? People are attracted to the way you're thinking and being. Why? Because that's who they truly want to be. And that's who they truly are. And that's who you're helping them remember who they truly are.
Yeah.
And
James, I wanted to add also that if we look at the easiest explanation in the book, that a miracle is a change of perception, forgiveness is a change of perception, where I see my brother and my sister and myself guilty, and I need to pay for what I have done wrong. And to shift the mind to see our brothers and sisters as perfect in spirit as God's created us. It's just a shift in your mind. Do you want to keep seeing everybody guilty? You can be there, but don't complain, because you're going to see more guilty, more pain coming. Are you ready to surrender and say, God, I don't know what I'm doing. My mind, it's not a righteous mind right now. Holy Spirit, help me. Help me shift my mind to a loving mind, which is in our mind already, but we don't want to use it. We keep trying to look at everything out of ourselves guilty. Punishment is after guilty. Either you see with love or you see with fear. It's not a third option.
yeah, and so either you see with guilt or you see with innocence.
Exactly.
But the more you see with guilt, the more you crucify yourself. Okay? The more you poison yourself, because we're all one. So if you see your brother or sister as guilty, if you just see through guilt's eyes, you start to block your true sight. Okay? All you have to remember is that I don't have to crucify myself. Okay? That cross was overcome a couple thousand years ago. You don't have to crucify yourself. All you have to do is let go through the act of forgiveness. The Course calls forgiveness the last illusion, because it releases you from all delusions, from all fantasies and fairy tales. And so you have traveled judgment's path before, where there's guilt, where there's shame, where there's regret and revenge. Okay? Have you not traveled that path enough times to realize it gets you nowhere? How much more are you going to poison yourself with your own thoughts? Okay? We've traveled that road 1,000 times, that dead-end road. Stop poisoning yourself with your own thoughts. Stop killing yourself unconsciously. There's another way. And that way is through the act of forgiveness. That releases you. That frees you and your brother. That heals you and your brother. You forgive. And you make the conscious decision to only see the truth in them as true. The love in them as true. And what happens when you do that? You reinforce the love inside of you. Okay? And then guess what you feel? Oh, you have to leave, Mike?
Yeah, I gotta go. I have another course class that I hold. I facilitate online for a group of my old friends.
Bye, Mike.
So, bye.
Bye.
Well,
Have a good night.
thank you, brother. Okay, so, okay, listen. Do you want to feel fulfilled? Okay? Do you want to fulfill your true mission and purpose in life? Then start seeing the world as God, only as God sees it. Because you were created by this loving light. What? To be what? To be a loving light. In your own unique way, whatever that is. It could be 100 different ways, but you're here to be the living light of the world in your own unique space and the unique ways that you like to express that love and share that love. Okay? That's the only way you're going to truly fulfill your primary function and mission in life, is to see the world as God sees it, to be in the world as God is, as the beacon of mercy and grace. Remember Christ on the cross. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. When they were crucifying him, he said, forgive them. Why can you not forgive your brother or sister? They're doing much less than crucifying you. And so make the conscious decision to see the world through God's eyes, through Christ's eyes. And remember, man, Jesus, Christ forgave everybody who crucified him. Why can't I just forgive my brother or sister for cutting in line, or being too slow or whatever? Why do I crucify myself when I crucify them in that manner? When I judge them, I crucify myself, and I learn nothing. And how many thousands of times have we done that? Ask yourself, when is enough going to be enough? When is enough pain and punishment and anger and resentment and regret and shame and guilt? When is that going to be enough? Stop it. Stop it. Simply forgive. Use forgiveness. Set yourself free from the ego's delusions and mindset, from the ego's nightmare. And in doing so, you wake up and begin to heal. Wendy, go ahead.
Well, I have a miracle to report, and I think you might give me a standing ovation.
All right.
Just you, James. Just you. Because you know that my hardest thing, because you just said about gratitude and the same thing that you've been saying to me for almost a year and to everybody, which is when somebody triggers you and makes you feel nuts, you should be thankful. And I'm always like, give me a break, because I never feel grateful after somebody causes me emotional strain, right? Today, and everybody knows my primary issue is always with my daughter, because we live together and whatever. And it's the same stuff over and over. I came home, same. Came home to, I don't even want to say what I came home to. Let's just say the animals had themselves a little ball. And I was going to have to clean up after them, and not happy because the one that makes the big mess is her dog. And so my ego was, acting like a maniac. I worked for 9 hours. I didn't even get to eat today other than the Slim Fast I had first thing in the morning. I do not want to come home to this. I was very upset. To my credit, when I texted her, I was not, enraged or whatever. I was just like, didn't we just talk about having compassion? I try to help you. Why can't you help me? Kind of thing. It just looked like that. And, but I was mad, and my ego was going, why do you let her live here? She does this to you every day. Why do you put yourself through this stress? Maybe the peaceful thing, maybe you'll feel peace if you throw her out, going through all of its machinations. And for the first time, and I mean the first time ever, I found a little bit of space, and my brain said, well, at first I said, Holy Spirit, either help me forgive her or forgive her for me, because I was upset. And then after I prayed that, in the next instant, I had the thought that has never been there, which is, she's not doing this to you, she's doing it for you. Because that's you in my brain, James. That is you. That's where my standing ovation comes in. And as soon as I thought that, and as soon as I had that prayer, I had already cleaned everything up. I had something to eat. That fixed a lot of the issue right there. And then when she came home, it was calm. We had a discussion. We talked about a compromise. Can she come home a little earlier to make sure things are okay? And then I'll take care of the dogs after, and I'll feed them. She doesn't have to come back. And it went beautifully. And that was the end of it. And she left the house to go be with her person. And I'm sitting here feeling perfectly fine. So, I may not be at the part where I'm like, I'm so grateful that happened. But that whole thing, it's happening for you instead of to you, that was a new one. It's never been there when my ego's doing its crazies. So that's the miracle I would like to report, everybody. And then I would like to read if I'm allowed.
Okay, yes. Before you read number 4, I will say yes, it's happening for you. And what you're learning is that little by little, you're learning that you're worthy of peace. Okay. And so when you start to shift that mindset from it's happening to me to for me, you start to open the door to remembering, you know what? I'm worthy of peace. This is happening for me. Something good is going to come from this. Something good is coming from this. And so thank you, Source. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And thank the Holy Spirit for helping you guide you to a new way of thinking.
Oh yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And then, you know how you were saying you become more of a light of the world and people are drawn to it or whatever? So I have this good friend from work, and she hears me talk about Course in Miracles all the time, and she's Christian. And she's a psychologist. And the last time she was over at my house, or a couple of weeks ago, she asked me a couple of questions and I explained them to her, and she said she called it a religion. I said, but it's not a religion. And she was a little bit judgmental, which, that's okay, because mainstream Christians may not see this as whatever. When I explained it to her, a little bit of it to her. And anyway, and then I let it go, because why not? But anyway, so she said to me today after work, she was like, can I come over tomorrow? You want to hang out? I said, yeah, but after Course in Miracles. And I said, it's over at 8:30. And then she said to me, because I like to give it a little extra time, she said, well, why don't I come earlier? And then I can hear, all about it, because you've been telling me so much about it. Complete opposite of what she was before, but I know why. It's because she sees all this new stuff I'm undertaking at work, and she's known me for 6 years. And she knows that she knows how I am. We're very close, that I have been crippled by anxiety for a long time, that I was unable to do a lot. I always bust my behind for my students, but I would not take on a lot of extra projects because I just needed a lot of time to do absolutely nothing but sit home and suffer and try to clear it. That's the truth. And she heard me telling somebody else today who was standing with us, he's like, well, why are you doing all this stuff now? I said, yeah, I got rid of a lot of my anxiety. And he's like, what medication? I'm like, not a medication. And I said, Course in Miracles. And I think that's why she said, can I come hear it? She said, I should just find out what this is about. I'm like, you sure can. Because she knows me, and I'm so much better than I was. You know what I mean? I'm like a different person in this way. So anyway, that would be another, I don't know if it's miracle, but it'll be interesting to see what she thinks of it.
Amen. Thank you. Yes, go ahead and read number 4, please.
Okay. My holiness is my salvation. Since my holiness saves me from all guilt, recognizing my holiness is recognizing my salvation. It is also recognizing the salvation of the world. Once I have accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid. And because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my understanding, which is the gift of God to me and to the world.
Yes. Okay, my holiness is my salvation. It's basically my holiness is my salvation from the ego's mindset and world. Okay. So by recognizing that God, perfect love, created you, and that the truth in you is only love, okay, you are blocked or released from all these delusions that you're something other than love. Okay. So when you start to think of yourself as something other than love, make the conscious decision to stop. Okay. Because you can only ever be what God is. If God is love and all, right, you can only ever be what God is. Okay. So reinforce only the truth in you as true. Any other thought that says to you that you're something other than love, make the conscious decision to not sacrifice any of your time, focus, and energy to it. Because if you sacrifice any of your time, focus, and energy to the darkness, you go into further darkness. Okay. But if you simply recognize that the darkness is not you, And you're not here for that. Okay? Stop. You stop sacrificing your life to false idols. Okay? And you say, sorry, I am not that. I am not anything other than the love that God is. I am not anything other than holy or love. And when you recognize that, guilt begins to dissolve away. Shame dissolves away. Anger, resentment, jealousy, hatred dissolves away. Because you no longer sacrifice your time to judgment or anger or resentment or hatred or revenge or shame or guilt. No, that's gone. Let it go. Let it go. Align with your holiness, so that you can be like what Wendy was doing, so she can be a light in the world, and others will see. Others will see that, and others will want that, because that's who they truly are. And so it's a way of you helping them remember who they truly are. And that's what they want. They want to be that loving light. They want to feel that holiness. They want to remember that they're worthy of God's love. They want to remember that guilt and shame are not a real part of them. That's just something we've been programmed to believe is true. Okay, forgive yourself. Forgive all others. Let it go. Let go of those blocks. Let's get guilt block, that shame block that are blocking your light. When you let it go, others see. Others begin to see. Whoa, I want what she has. I want to start thinking how he or she is thinking, because I see that that person is somehow aligned with something in them that I know that I also deserve as God's child and creation. And sentence number 4, once I have accepted my holiness, or once I have accepted that I am one with the source, that I am one with love, nothing can make me afraid. And because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my understanding. And everybody will want to share in my understanding, which is the gift of God to me. And so his love is his gift to me. And when I recall that I am the love that God created me to be, guess what? I become a gift from God to this world. And so that's all God wants, is to, he wants you to recognize who you truly are, so that you can fulfill your function as the light of the world. And that remembering, in other words, that's called salvation. You're remembering who you truly are. And in doing so, you help save the world by helping them remember who they truly are. You save them from the ego's mindset and world, from that fear-based, judgment-centric world. And so, yes. Any comments or questions on paragraph 4?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is salvation understood through Course in Miracles to be like saved in the sense that we're saved from the ego and from suffering? Or is it like the atonement, the forgiveness? What does it mean? What is the Course in Miracles definition of salvation is what I'm asking.
Well, we will need the actual definition. I will have to look it up, but it's kind of like you know how Charles talks about above the battleground. It's kind of like leaving this level 1 and level 2, right?
Yeah.
Level 2 is the ego's world and mindset, right?
Yeah.
And level 1 is once your mind is aligned with the mind of God. Okay, and so the idea of salvation is going from here to here. Okay, so that's salvation. That's realizing that this level 2 is not really real. And so yeah, go ahead.
For holiness. So it says, since my holiness saves me from all guilt, recognizing my holiness is recognizing my salvation. That's the sentence I'm trying to make sense of.
Right.
So,
So once you go from level 2 to level 1, and you recognize that you are one with God, with source, with love, and that you're only love, then that's what it means. When recognizing my holiness, or recognizing that I'm one with God, it's recognizing that I am free from the ego's mindset and world, basically.
okay, thank you.
Yes. Would somebody like to do number 5, since we're running a tad late? Okay, I'll go ahead and read number 5. I am blessed as a son of God. Thank you, Lord. Herein lies my claim to all good and only good. I am blessed as a son of God. All things are mine because God intended them for me. I cannot suffer any loss or deprivation or pain because of who I am. My Father supports me, protects me, and directs me in all things. His care for me is infinite and is with me forever. I am eternally blessed as his son. Okay. Sentence number 1. Herein lies the claim to all good and only good. Okay, you have to remember, where does goodness come from? It comes from God. And so when you're being good, in quotes, you're being who God is. And that's what you're meant to be and do. And so always remember, when you're doing good, it's not really you doing it. It's God doing it through you. And so when you remember that your goodness comes from God, you let that energy flow through and into the world.
Wow.
When you think your goodness comes from you, you block your connection to source.
Goodness comes from God with the vessel.
Sorry?
We're the vessel, you know, we
Yes.
open the container so it can, the channel.
Yes, imagine a faucet, okay?
Yeah.
We're a faucet. We can close the faucet. If we become self-absorbed and think that everything good comes from us, we close the faucet. And nothing real or true flows through us. When we open up the faucet, we're allowing goodness to flow through us.
When we say it comes from us, then we are in the ego,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We become egoic because, oh, I did, I'm powerful, oh, wow, I'm smart. But in reality, the humbleness, I mean, the admitting that we are this light because we are acknowledging what God, you know, that was the job. That's what he wants us to be and to do and to be the light of somebody else as well. So it's very humbling to think it's not me, you know. Actually, this is a big call to me because I think I'm many times in my ego when I say something that it's cool. I'll find like, you know, some realizations, but I can't forget that it's not from me.
Yes.
I can forget that, yes.
Yes. Remember, all goodness comes from God. All love comes from God. And the more you remember that, the more you connect to source. And the more you remember that, the more you allow source to flow through you.
Wow.
And the more you remember that, the brighter your light shines.
Yeah.
So give yourself no credit. Practice giving yourself no credit and give all the credit to God. Anything that you do good, and the ego's not going to like this, but anything that you do good, give the credit to God. Because that's acknowledging your connection to him. That's acknowledging that God is flowing through you and into this world. That's acknowledging that you're bringing light into the darkness. Go ahead, Wendy.
The line that says, "My Father supports me, protects me, and directs me in all things," that
Mhm.
reminds me of the line that says, "I rest in God,"
Mhm.
and I find that a very comforting line because I feel like, I don't know, there's nothing more important than feeling safe to me anyway, and I feel like that is a beautiful idea that we're safe, that we're all safe.
Yes. And that's the idea of practice trusting in the divine design. Like you just said, it's happening for me, not to me. That's a way of saying, I trust God. That's all you're truly saying in that moment, is saying, you know what? I trust you, God. And so God rejoices. And so when you remind yourself, wait, this is happening for me. There's something here for me. Why? Because it's happening. And so, and God being love, if it's happening, then there's something there for you that you will use to grow, heal, and awaken, and then heal and help grow, heal, and awaken others.
Well, you know, as you're talking, it's very comforting, but I realize I've been realizing slowly why certain parts of this have been harder for me to, why I'm so resistant to certain parts. And I think it does have to do with that idea of safety, you know, like this idea to trust God is when you haven't really been able to trust anything. You know what I mean? If you have experienced a lot of problems or betrayal or trauma or whatever, that idea of trusting is like, prove to me that you're trustworthy. You know what I mean? Like that I'm not going to get harmed from this. And so the parts that I have up until now, like I feel myself softening a little in those areas, and it's just taken a long time, but at least I understand why. Because a lot of times I have resistance to things and I have no idea why. But now it's starting to make sense to me. And the more I tell myself, I rest in God, I'm safe in my defenselessness, I repeat those things to myself. It's just slow going, but things are, I don't feel the same resistance that I did before, but I do understand it. You know, and I'm compassionate with myself for it, because as much as we want to live in the holy instant, we all do have pasts and we react from them, you know, and have to try to make our way through them. But um, you know, I long for the day when I feel like everything is happening exactly for me and I can trust that it's all going to be okay and stuff, you know. But I think in the meantime, the increments, the step in the right direction is something to be happy about.
Yeah, anytime you get the opportunity to go from it's happening to me to it's happening for me, you do that shift. You start to shift, and
No, sure.
that increases your trust in source.
But
And
I'm
so,
saying like the thing about faith. I'm talking to you about the faith. You know, like you often say things like, well, you just have to have faith that, well, the reason I think that I have been okay with this course and really committed to it is because it said right from the beginning, you don't have to believe anything, just practice and see what happens. You know, and to me that works perfectly. If you just say to me, you know, trust God, he's going to take care of you, I'm going to be, well, I would probably say a profanity a year ago. You know what I mean? Like you haven't been looking at my life clearly if you would say that to me. So what I'm telling you is that's the bridge that I'm not across, because when you get to the part where you just say have faith, I think I have to practice for, you know, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I think I have to practice and see proof for a certain length of time before I can finally feel like I feel safe enough to say, okay, I have faith that it will be okay, or I have faith that I am being taken care of, or I have faith. It just takes longer maybe for some people. I used to get upset with myself. I'm not upset with myself anymore, because as Mike would say, the timing is perfect, apparently. So, you know, that's where I am. But I'm very grateful to you. I like when you hear me express gratitude, because, you know, it's important. And grateful to the group. Grateful to all of you. Okay, that was all.
yeah, and so the idea is anytime you get to, okay, let's say your mind goes, oh, this is happening to me, okay? You were talking about practice, okay? That's the perfect time to practice going from, oh, okay, something's happening to me. Okay, what does that mean? That means that the universe is offering me an opportunity to practice going from happening to me to for me. Okay,
Mm.
and when you start to realize that this to me to for me shift is simply an opportunity to practice, the more you get to practice, the more grateful you become. because all those times that it was happening to you, the possibility to say that it was what happening for me was there. It's just that you were blind to it. Okay, but now you're starting to open up a little hole there, and starting to see, wait a second, maybe this is happening for me. And so the more you get to practice this shift from to me to for me, the more this hole opens up, and then the more at safe and at peace and trusting in the divine design you become. And so when that happens, you start to deal with your past in a different way. You start to see that all those times are just helping you practice, letting go of the past delusional mindset and remembering that, oh, well, wow, this is happening for me. This is happening so that I can heal, grow, and awaken. This is happening so I can become the light of the world that God created me to be. And so thank you, Source.
Wow, what a beautiful way to end this night with this part of shifting. This is happening for me and not to me. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, James. Thank you, Beatriz, also for the witnessing and being with us. Such a beautiful thing. Already thinking about it, how many things I judge myself. Why this happened, why the situation, it's unfair, I've been this way, and she's been this way, and on the contrary, there are many blessings when we say, oh, this is happening for me, giving me the opportunity to manifest my compassion, my love, my gratitude, my forgiveness. So it needs more of me. Actually, the more we grow, the more is asked from us. We are tested in many ways. But thank you for the tools of it's happening for me. This is another level. We keep growing, and the more it's always the world is going to keep testing us and giving us these chances, these challenges. Like, okay, it's another one, because we are not stuck at all. We continue evolving.
And that's the part where we bring in gratitude for Wendy, because if it's happening for you, wow, thank you, person X or Y, thank you, God. That's when you get to gratitude. All right, any final comments or questions? All right, folks, it was lovely.
Thank you.
God willing, we'll see each other soon.
That was a good one. Everybody be careful because the weather is horrible.
Yeah.
Be careful driving, okay?
All right.